Hey everyone, this is Ruth in Ruth's Art Room, and today I'm going to show you some of the sketching that I do in my Urban Sketchers notebook that I've been keeping for about over a year and a half now. I've already sketched this in my large moleskin journal with the blue Pentel pencil. I was just sitting in front of the TV looking at that image I just showed you. I got off of Pinterest and I color these in with alcohol markers, and you'll see how it bleeds through on that other side. So that's why I've inserted a cardstock underneath this page. I had a little bit bleed through on from my last picture where I had touched it up, and you can see the little gray marks there, but I don't care too much because this will get enough marks on it to cover it up. So first I do the fine lining in different markers, the Stettler fine pens, and I think that's a Uniball. It's a really fine pen. So I'm just going to go over the blue marks that I made. If I had more confidence, I would just start with my pen lines like a lot of the real urban sketchers do. I still don't trust myself enough to not screw up, so I tend to always do faint outlines in my blue pencil first. It just makes me feel better. But then I do end up making kind of just squiggly, rough lines. I've One of my favorite urban sketchers that has inspired me, I've taken some of his classes and I have his book. It's Albert Kiefer, and I believe he's from the Netherlands. And he's just amazing, and he's just this fantastic artist and just sits down, does these squiggly, rough lines, colors them in with alcohol markers, and bam, they're beautiful. But even after a year and a half, I still don't have quite enough confidence to just sit there with my pen. I'll try it every now and then, but then I'll mess up and just get annoyed. So I'm just decided to just do it this way for now until I get a little better. I've been doing so many other projects lately with, creating the digital stuff for my online Etsy store, and also doing card making and crafting and other things. And I was like, I hope I still remember how to draw. So I made myself sit down and go back to my real passion, which is painting and drawing. I mean, I love it all. Honestly, I love crafting and creating anything. But there's just something magical about you sketch this image and it's just sort of flat, and then when you start applying, if it's paints or markers or whatever, and you just bring it to life with just your shading. So I'm just going to maybe let the music play here, and I'll come back after we've colored this. I started getting it all blocked in. Okay, so I'm just about finished with getting my lines in. Just very loose, try to keep it loose, squiggly. It doesn't, and especially the plants, they're just kind of rough lines, rough shapes of where you want the grass to be, or little outline, rough shapes of things. And then I take an eraser and erase my blue background lines. This particular eraser I started with, it's a new eraser. It's not really quite picking up all the the lines. So I'm going to switch to my trusty other white eraser in a second here, and yeah, get the rest of them up. And it gets most of it. It doesn't matter. It's going to all be covered up with the alcohol markers. And last year I had started out with some Copic markers, and I had some really cheap markers I had gotten off of Amazon, but they didn't have the, I don't know if you call it the square tip. It's the kind of the thick angled tip. And Albert Kiefer shows that he does all of his in these bold strokes with those it's broad tip is what it's called, with the broad tip of the alcohol markers. So I got a set. I think I can't ever say it right. It looks like a wahoo, but it's not. I think it's ohuhu is what I've heard artists call them. And they're really beautiful colors, reasonably priced. So I still have a few Copics, but I just keep a little scratch page near me and will just put some of the inks onto the paper just so I can kind of first see if they still have any ink in them, and then just kind of get an idea of what colors I want to use for the project, because the caps aren't always realistic completely. Like you'll see a color, like you see that gold there, it's actually a lot darker. The caps are actually more pink, but when you put them down, they're a vibrant red. So just always kind of test your markers and make sure that they're working and that they're the colors that you actually want. So I'm just kind of going through the process here of finding and swatching the colors that I have in mind. Some of my Copics are drying up, so I'm probably going to have to find some other shading, because you really use different shades of gray for your tinting for the most part, as you'll see in a moment. And since the Lighthouse is white, I still will use a little bit of a tint color on it, just to kind of, for the most part, just to bring some shading out. So I'm going to start, normally you can start applying with the shadows first, like the grays, but I think here I may start with I'm going to start with some of the underneath colors, and there's kind of rust on the picture. There's like spotty, rusty stuff from the weather. So a lot of times I'll apply my rust colors first that I want to peek through the other colors. So I'll just sort of highlight where there's I want this to stand out, and just kind of make little dots and slashes with this gold. And then once I've applied this, I'm just kind of looking at the picture to see where I want these little gold rusty bits to show up. Now I'm going to bring out the red, and I'm going to just put over that top of the lighthouse, and I'll put over most of I'm going to bring out a lighter red. I think that was a little dark, so I'm just kind of blending my different colors up here. But see, it's just mostly bold strokes with the broad tip. So these aren't like fine art, exact, it's got to be lifelike. But that's what I really love about this version of urban sketching, is it's pretty loose and free. And so for the railing, even though in the picture the railing is all completely red, I'm just going to put hints of it. With the black outline, you'll still see that it's there, but I don't want to overdo it because really it's a sketch. So then I'm going to go in with some of my what am I doing here? Yeah, a little more bits of red. I still see a couple places. And I'm actually using the finer nib on here just to touch up a few places. And I'm going to go back over some of that gold or rust that I put down. And I found almost more of a pinky tone. And you see when I put it over that gold, it does still show through, but it looks like you can kind of looks like the sun hitting it. So that is one good thing about the alcohol markers is there's quite a bit of blending you can do. Now I'm going in with different gray. I'm starting with the dark gray up at the top because the shadow from the dome is reflecting on the inside of the glass. So I'm going to go into the areas that need to have the darkest shadows and just kind of put them in the window panes. Then I'll go back in with a lighter gray underneath that, and there again it's mostly just the reflections that are in the glass, and then just you can start with lighter shades of the gray and you'll end up going darker. You kind of start the shadows from, usually I'll go light to dark and build it up that way. Unless it's an area that I know is just going to start out dark, then that's what I'll do. But normally I'll build up the different tints. Now I'm putting a little bit of a pale blue here because there is some reflection from the sea, I believe, on the lighthouse. And it's a white house, but lighthouse, but you still are going to have little tints of this blue gray. So I tend to use that quite a bit. And now I'm just going to build up. Here we go with a little bit of a darker gray under the areas where the railing is shadowed the most. So the sun is shining from it's brightest of course on that right side, and when you start putting in these shadows, it starts to really bring dimension to the sketch. As you can see, it's like, oh yeah, now it does look really like a round structure. And I'm just touching up bits of this, I don't even know what color that is. It's almost like a pale pinkish color that I'm lightly putting on the bright side of the structure. And sometimes I just sit and stare at the picture for a while, or I'll look at my inks and come up with my next idea. So I'm just going to lightly put in the bricks just to kind of get those in. Then I'll highlight the beams that are holding up the balcony some more. Then this is where I go in with some of the darker again. And then you blend it out with a cooler or a lighter shade while it's still wet. Alright, now I'm just putting in some blue color for the ocean. No really precise definition, just kind of blocking in the blue. I'll do a few little angles there, but that's pretty much it. And then we've still got the ramp, the wooden ramp, and the railings, and some vegetation on the side. And in the picture, it must have been fall because there's a lot of greens and golds in the grassy area. So I'm putting down this, this real kind of a greeny gold color at first to block in some of the lighter shades that I want to highlight through. And again, you see it's just randomly rough using that broad tip part of the pen. And then trying to find a green. I have so many different shades, it's hard to like, oh yeah, I'll use this one. There's no right or wrong way. It's just very freeing. It's what I love about this style. But I am putting the darker shades towards the sidewalk area, and then little hints here and there with some taller blades of grass and weeds sticking up. Then I'll pick another shade as well. I'm going to go back to the ramp. And I could do more definition here that actually looked more like steps than just a flat walkway, but I don't care. And just blocking in the wooden posts. And then some more highlights along the bricks. Add some more shadow. But to me, this is just really the whole magical process. And then I'll put random dots here and there just because it's fun. And then just bringing a little bit more of the gold up in there to kind of accentuate the rusty areas underneath the railways. I guess it's a balcony, the rails. And then kind of the final process is bringing a little bit thicker nib pen. I think this is a 0.5. And just go back over the little fine lines in certain areas that you want to darken and accentuate. So I'm just kind of blocking in more of the doorways, defining the rails a little bit more. Make some more squiggly lines. And then I'm going into the grassy area and squiggling in lines and outlines of leaves or just whatever, as well as outlining those wooden posts. And then just putting in the window panes. and then just define some of the brickwork a little bit more. The doors, put a little doorknob. A few more blades of grass. Just make sure that dome roof is highlighted a little more. It's just look at it, play with it, see what you like. I can't even talk, accentuate a little more. And then I will usually bring out a white Posca pen, a fine Posca pen. Probably needs to, and just do some highlights. Yeah, it's getting a little dried up, so there we go. And then I'll just highlight with some white here and there where it looks like I want the glass reflecting a little. Just certain areas, not a whole lot, but it'll definitely make a difference using the white pen on certain areas. See how that really brings out the windows. Okay, so this is just about done. The last thing you do is sign your name and